Thank you, listeners, and we appreciate our sponsors for making the broadcast possible weekdays here on KELK. Today's the day we're going to catch up with Elko Senior Center News with Director Matt McCarty. Matt, what a pleasure to see you here today. Thank you for being on time and being in your chair. It was like, Matt is here. I'm so excited. I mean, you know, I meant that as a compliment, right?
Absolutely.
You're just so busy.
But I do have a reputation for being a little bit late, and not only on Elko Live on your show, but elsewhere as well.
Well, that's okay. Again, we appreciate you so much, Matt. You really do help to improve the quality of life for everybody in this community. So thank you.
I'm happy to do so, and as I've told people for decades now, I honestly do not feel I will ever be able to give back to the community what the community's given me. So anything I can do to help a little bit, I certainly help or try to help and do what I can. And it makes it a lot easier when we have an amazing job. When I have an amazing job like this at the senior center, and it's a terrific. I've got an amazing team. Our team does a great job on getting things done, and we've got these amazing volunteers that pick up and don't even pick up the slack. They fill in the gaps. We would not be able to do what we do without our volunteer cadre, and then we've just got a tremendously supportive board, and we've just appointed 2 new people, and so now we have a full board, and it is great.
That's exciting, Matt. So we're going to talk about all that and more today here on our update from the Elko Senior Center. And you are right. Every time I walk into the center, smiling faces everywhere. And if someone is having a bad day, well, you can bet that they've been surrounded by friends and who take them aside and sit down with a cup of coffee or a delicious dessert or a whole meal. And suddenly things start to look a little brighter when you have friends.
That is certainly the hope. And that's why the dining room and the congregate dining is so important, and why on the national level with the Older Americans Act, it specifically calls out having socialization in a dining room for the meals that they have. They put some fairly stringent restrictions on whether or not we can even deliver meals to the folks through our Meals on Wheels program. And the reason behind that is because they recognize that socialization is healthier all around. It's healthier physically, it's healthier emotionally, psychologically, and so that's why we try to have a friendly, welcoming environment, and I think we succeed pretty darn often.
So, Matt, since the focus is on food, we should maybe go over some of that. I know I had in my notes here. How about our funding sources for food? That's really the main focus at the Elko Senior Center. There's so much more, but how are we doing to date?
We are okay currently. We do. So the largest portion of food coverage, or where we get the most amount of our money from our revenues, is through the state of Nevada, through the Aging and Disability Services Division. They in turn get the grants through the federal government, through the Older Americans Act. And so when there is a funding concern at the federal level, that does have an indirect impact to us, and depending on how long that lasts, that would have a direct impact on us. The state gives us the ability to have a grant program, and we submit what our best guess is on how many meals we think we're going to serve. And then the state looks at that, looks at all of the centers across the state, and then divvies out portions of that. This year, we are actually outperforming our numbers by a tremendous amount. So on one hand, that's amazing that we have so many people in the community that trust us to provide a healthy, nutritious meal and in a good atmosphere, that they're coming in. And it's actually, most of it is home delivered. The word is getting out that we can help you. So that's the great news. The other side of the coin is that we're going to run out of funding much earlier than expected on the state level. And so that's where the secondary level comes in, and that's the voluntary contributions. Through the Older Americans Act, we cannot require someone that's 60 or better to pay for their meal. Instead, we have suggested donations. And so with our suggested donations, that's where folks will contribute what they feel is fair or what they can afford. And many people, especially in the dining room, come in and they'll say, we know your suggested donation is only $3. We're going to put $5 in the kitty. And so that helps, because there are other people that come in the dining room that can't afford to, even the $3 a meal is not something that they may be able to do. And so it does help quite a bit on that side of kind of covering each other. So that works out really well. The Meals on Wheels side, they're much less fortunate, or at least we see folks that are less likely to be able to afford the suggestion on that. With the Meals on Wheels, the suggested contribution is $3.50 because there's more packaging, there's more stuff that goes into that. And so that's where we, we do see a bit of an increase in suggested donation, but at the same time, we also see a decrease in the contributions that come from that. And it's just one of those things that happen. So, and we're also very blessed to have a grant from the William N. Pennington Foundation. And so they contribute about $2 a meal. And again, that's a set grant. So when we exceed the number of meals that grant provides for, again, we're kind of out of money on that. And that happens. But we then rely on generous donations and other things that come through, and we go from there.
And we do want to continue to depend on those generous community contributions as we're feeding senior citizens in our community. Again, the seniors who help to build this community, who set the stage for those of us who are currently working and living and contributing. And this is a chance to really honor them and appreciate their legacy. And Matt McCarty is the director of the Elko Senior Center and our guest here today. So anytime you can contribute, there are ways to do that in memoriam. You can do some estate planning and maybe make the Elko Senior Center the benefactor of certainly your estate planning, a will.
Absolutely. And in doing so, we would appreciate knowing so that we can help plan and find out what it is that you'd like. Because if someone says, I want to just give money to the center, then great. We're going to use that in the best way that we can. And oftentimes with large bequests on that side, we put those more towards an endowment or towards future spending. And that's to, again, help the center when we know that there are going to be lean times. We have that to be able to count on. We are at capacity almost in our current building, and so we are looking at how do we expand or do we go to another building? And so those would go to capital. But somebody may say, no, I want this going to the meal program. That is terrific, because then we can get it locked away and we can say, okay, this money is only to be used for our meals. And when we do find those gaps, then that can help to fill that in. And so if folks are planning that, if they can let us know, we can help them on how to word that so that it's specific to where it is for their wishes. So that, because when they're gone, they're not going to be able to tell us their wishes if it's not written down. And so we would appreciate knowing, but we sometimes get these gifts out of the blue.
Surprise!
And it's amazing. So so we are appreciative of those as well.
Well, thank you, Matt. Our focus is on food as we're visiting with Matt McCarty from the Elko Senior Center today. So we know that the funding sources, just like everything else right now, a little insecure, but can be propped up with our local contributions, your generous support to the Elko Senior Center and the foundation, and also about the food itself, Matt. We understand nutrition is the underlying element. The food is prepared on site. I don't know that there's any prepackaged food that's served. I mean, there might be some exceptions here and there, but that is really an emphasis too, even in the national conversation right now, is making sure that we have access to healthy food.
Absolutely. And there are some things, we get yogurt in sometimes or things like that yes, certainly are prepackaged, and not everything is made from scratch. Today we had orange chicken, so the chicken that we've got coming in is already breaded, and we have an orange sauce that we use with it. We don't make that from scratch, certainly, but we do prepare it all right then and there and then. And we do make sure that we have that nutritious value to that. There are also some cost savings. I was trying to find the information I was looking for. As of right now, our average cost per meal for the senior meals is about $7.30. our current contributions from our seniors comes in at about $2.20. So that's where that gap lies. We're losing $5.10 per se on each meal if we're counting only on the senior side of things. Luckily, our grants are able to come in and fill that gap currently. When I say, and the reason that I'm looking at that is because we have cost things that we have to look at as well. When we know that we're serving more meals than we're going to get grant funding for, we also have to be aware of what the costs are. And in fact, we just had a discussion internally about that today. We make some really good cookies, and when we make them, from scratch, they're amazing. They're also time consuming and they're more expensive. And so we have gone to a frozen cookie dough that then we can bake off. And so our cookies aren't made from scratch. Not all of our cookies are made from scratch. And so that's one of the things that we had to cut some corners in order to, be able to continue to afford the program. And when you're serving 6,500 meals a month, even savings of 5 cents a serving, it makes a difference.
Oh, it really does, Matt. Thank you for explaining that. Again, I've not heard complaints about the quality of meals, unless certainly if you've heard them, I'm sure that you and the board have tried to respond to them. There are favorites. I know people like their hot dogs. That's always a popular day.
It is, absolutely.
It's like a license to eat a hot dog.
Right.
Yeah, once you get to be a certain age, because things are discouraged. And then, oh no, it's hot dog day. We're going for it.
Yep. And we do take the responses that we get back from our members seriously. And I'm hopeful that by the next month when I come back on the show, I'll be able to talk a little bit about ways that we are looking at cost savings while also looking at ways that because not everybody says, I don't like this. But we're looking at ways that we might be able to determine that without them physically telling us or verbally telling us. And so I'm really excited about it, but I don't want to say anything until I've gotten the go-ahead that we are one of the selected centers statewide. There's a program statewide that they're looking at, and we may be one of the 3 centers that is able to participate. So I'm excited about that.
I hope we can roll out that news on next month's program here on Elko Live with Matt McCarty, the Elko Senior Center Director. That's really cool. So, of course, again, meals are served weekdays starting at 11:30 on site at the Elko Senior Center at 1795 Ruby View Drive. If you are curious about Meals on Wheels delivery, call the center at 775-738-3030 and see if you or maybe a loved one qualifies for delivery to either Elko or Spring Creek, right, Matt?
That's right, absolutely. And we have 2 routes in Spring Creek, 2 routes in Elko, and we had somebody ask the other day, is there a waiting list? Currently, there's not, as long as the paperwork is already filled out. However, if somebody needs us to help them with the paperwork, there is a little bit of a waiting list. It takes us about 2 weeks to get to somebody, because it takes about a half hour for us to be able to do that paperwork to get them in. And in those 2 weeks, oftentimes, we'll find people that are only there temporarily because they had a surgery and they've since healed up, and so they can go ahead and remove themselves. And so we continue to have that flow of allowing us to add more people in. But we are getting just about to cap. In fact, in Spring Creek, we're almost there because currently we only have 4 trucks. If one of our trucks goes down, the Spring Creek route gets combined. And at that point, we're at 2 hours and 56 minutes or something crazy on when we leave the building to when we deliver our last meal. And that's important because we have a 3-hour window. If we can't deliver our meals within 3 hours, it's no longer healthy and it's no longer safe, and therefore we can't deliver it. So when we have to combine our route in Spring Creek, we're pretty much at our cap. Good news is that we have a truck on order. We've gotten communication from our graphics design team, and so that's kind of the last step. So we're hoping that we'll be able to receive the truck by May or June, and that will give us a little bit of breathing room. Then we'll have 5 trucks. We're going to stay with 4 routes, but that way if a truck goes down, we have a backup to be able to keep those Spring Creek routes separate.
How many patrons do you know that you have maybe in the Spring Creek or even Elko area? I don't know if that's fair to ask you just off the top of your head, the breakdown.
So on the Meals on Wheels side, we actually just counted them, and we have 165, I think, people that we deliver to. of which about 45 are out in Spring Creek. And so then when you say, well, that's 2 routes and 25 people each, that's not very much. It's because of the distance between the meals, between the homes. In Elko, the density is much greater, and we can deliver. I mean, heck, we'll stop at Cimarron, Village, and we'll be able to deliver 20 meals in 15 minutes because they're all right there in the apartment complexes, and so that makes it a little bit easier. Out in Spring Creek, we don't have that. In fact, we added someone the other day. Well, this was probably now 2 or 3 months ago, and it added 15 minutes just one direction. So it was a half-hour add to put them on where they were compared to the rest of where our route was, and so it redirected things. And then that was one of those discussions of, well, do we add them? Is this within our limits? And we've said Spring Creek Association, and so we find ways to make it work, and we rearrange things. And our Spring Creek routes have Elko people on them because we hit the area over by Elko Veterinary Clinic on the way out for one of our routes to relieve some of the pressure off of our Elko routes. And then on the other side, over by Elko Motor and the Forest Service, or at least where the Forest Service used to be. State Fire, I think, is there now, but over in that area, that housing community, we hit that side on the way in on one of our other Spring Creek routes. So we still have some flexibility, but it's a lot of people that we're serving out there.
A lot of meals that are being served to some of our most vulnerable yet energetic citizens, our seniors, those who are 60 or better. And we appreciate, Matt, you spending time like that because, again, with the way things, a lot of discussions happening at the national level. We just want people to understand, to feel confident and secure, and to know how they can help when help is needed. Just the same way the community's been able to respond to fish, for example, and it all goes toward our local residents and helping our senior citizens. Thank you, Matt, for the update there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it took me a minute, but I was able to pull it up. So we have 165 members total for our Meals on Wheels, and 40 of those members are out in Spring Creek. And then the other thing that we look at is the number of stops. How many stops are we making? So 126 stops to deliver to 165 meals. So when you look at it that way, about 3/4 of our people live alone, and they don't have somebody else, and so oftentimes our drivers are the only people that they're seeing in that daytime. So we're glad that we can be part of their healthy environment as well.
That's Monday through Friday, whether it's Meals on Wheels or Meals on Site at the Elko Senior Center at 1795 Ruby View Drive. We should probably mention your new board members if you'd like to give them a shout out, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We are very happy to have Kathy McAdoo. Kathy is well known within the community. Not only has she been involved in multiple different areas throughout the community. She ran PACE Coalition for a number of years. She was also our Board of Regents, Board of Regents through the higher education system. She was our regent for our area for 6 years, and she served us well there. She has been volunteering for 2.5, 3 years at the center, and she is our main volunteer for our food pantry program. And so we were very happy to have her show interest in being able to join the board. And then the other new board member is Lynn Terrace. Lynn has also been involved within the community for 20 plus years through Lions and Kiwanis and Toastmasters. And of course, she has her own business as well. And through her financial advisement, we're glad to have a little bit more financial acumen on our board as well to help give direction on where we can go with different investments and with different financial aspects there. So we're very pleased that those ladies have joined our board, and we had a number of qualified candidates, and we appreciated everybody that came in, but we only had 2 seats open, and so the board chose the board chose those two ladies, and so they joined our board chair, Jennifer Roberson. We currently don't have a vice chair. Cindy Heislop had resigned at the end of last year, and that created one of the openings. Monica Kosgarat has been on there for quite a number of years. She's our treasurer currently. And then we also have Marcia Davis. We have Billie Jean Crawford and then we also have Ann Curtis. So we're pleased with our board. In fact, I just realized they're all ladies, so I'm pleased with with the ladies that serve on the board and that are my boss and give me the directions that we need. So.
That's great. And congratulations again to both Kathy and Lynn, new board members at the Elko Senior Center. They really are shepherding not only the current events, activities, the necessary services, but what might be coming in the future, Matt. So I want to make sure that any events or activities that we're including in today's discussion, or any help that you might need from the community too.
The community has been generous, but we are looking at potentially being able to expand. And the charter school, the Elko Institute of Academic Achievement, has a lot that they own over by the Peace Park. That was where they were originally going to look at building their new school, and that didn't quite work out for them. So they have it up for sale, and that is something that we publicly have said we would love to be able to be in that location, because it would give us the ability to expand, to be able to have a new building and really be set for the rest of the life of the senior center, because that's a 9-acre lot. And so that would be really, really interesting. We just don't have the capital for it yet. So we are working with some folks to see if we can get something secured. But if somebody wins the lotto out there and would like to, throw about $1 million towards the senior center, we would gladly take it so that we could secure that land. And then once we have the land secured, we'd be able to then roll out probably a 5-year capital program to be able to build the new center. A new center is probably at this point going to be close to $8 or $9 million. And that's not money that we just have sitting in the bank. So it's going to take some time to build that up. But so we're looking at that towards the future, and our board is supportive of that, while also being realistic enough to know that if we can't secure something, we also need to address what we're looking at now. So for a number of about 1.5 years, almost 2 years, we've been talking about a new garage, and the garage is starting to go up. We just had some of the initial dirt work moving Monday actually. And so we're glad to see our construction crew out there ready to get going on that, because again, that's that growth of what happens with having as many folks as we're serving.
And it's important to note that in this capital plan that you have, the Elko Senior Center is a foundation. You do have a foundation already in place. It was always the vision of the Elko Senior Center to be financially independent, right, Matt?
Absolutely. And we are pleased and proud of our heritage, and so grateful for the folks that have come before us and our partners. We are in a county building on city land, and working with those municipalities and with those government agencies is great. It's helpful, but at the same time, there are also some restrictions. And one of those is that we don't own our building, so we don't have that asset that we'd be able to convert into a liquid asset to help with moving forward. So we do need to see what we can do, and if we can own the land outright and then we can build the building outright, then we're that much closer to complete financial independence.
Well, Matt, thank you. So we'll just start right there. We just need $1 million to get this started, to purchase the 9-acre lot. We'll just put that out there, and we'll keep it circulating, and I'm sure it will trickle into much greater conversations. But yeah, this all sounds really doable. I mean, nothing that we've seen at the Elko Senior Center is extravagant. It's a great purposeful building now. It's multiple use, amazing kitchen, as you said, a garage. Parking is always an issue, but a 9-acre campus would go a long way to meeting these current and future needs.
Absolutely.
All right. So just putting it out there. If you are a corporation looking for a cozy place for $1 million, then there you go. It's the Elko Senior Center.
That's right. We'd be very grateful, and thank you, Laura. I appreciate being able to let the community know that that's where we are.
All right. So any other activities? I know March is a fun month for seniors that like to dress up for St. Patrick's Day. You always have a special lunch.
We do, yeah. We enjoy our St. Patrick's Day and the dressing of the green, and so that is always fun. We do have our St. Patrick's Day meal next Monday. That's going to be, of course, our traditional corned beef with our red roasted potatoes, and we'll have a little bit of a special green poke cake. So we take the poke cake and we bake a normal cake, and then we have a tool and we poke holes throughout, and then we pour a Jell-O over it, and so then it soaks into it, and it just makes a really moist cake. It's not a tres leches cake, with that really creamy goodness there, but instead it's got a little bit more, probably a lime. It's going to have a little bit more of a lime flavor since it's green Jell-O, but it's enjoyable.
Colorful, yeah.
That's right.
Colorful and enjoyable, and it lifts the spirit. Today you had chocolate cake, didn't you?
We did. No, actually.
Did you have 2 cakes?
Today we had.
Maybe
I'm trying to remember what we had for dessert because I didn't see what we had, but yeah, we did have a chocolate cake. It was a chocolate cake with white frosting. Yep.
Oh boy.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
So that was good. And then we had some poppy seed pineapple.
That's
and
right.
People are like, poppy seed pineapple, it's really good. I was surprised at how good it is.
And I like that the Senior Center offers that second chance because on Fridays you roll out any leftover desserts.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. So if there's something you liked earlier in the week and we prepared a whole bunch of it, then come on in for Friday and you can have some extra desserts.
All right, Matt. Well, we have more time, a couple more minutes or so I want to make sure we're getting to the topics that you are hoping to today. Matt McCarty is director of our Elko Senior Center, and again, we appreciate your leadership so much.
Well, thank you. And again, it makes it easy to be able to do what I can do with the team that we have behind me, and the team that the board that gives me direction as well. So that's always helpful. I want to touch on a little bit on our partnerships. Today was our produce truck. So the Food Bank of Northern Nevada sends the produce truck up once a month, and it was funny. Usually they come in right on time. They start at 11:30, and usually he's rolling in. Sean is rolling in like at 11:25, and today he rolled in at 11 o'clock. And I said, "Wow, Sean, you're really early. You must have had a tailwind." And he said, "Yeah." I said, "You're so early that we haven't finished our drive-through meal service yet. So can you park somewhere else?" Because he parks under the porte-cochere, and that's where our folks can get their produce. And so afterwards, he parked and he came back up and he said, "So what's the drive-through?" And I said, for those members that can't come into the dining room because maybe they're still working or they want to be able to eat at home with their loved one, but they don't qualify for Meals on Wheels, or perhaps they're immunocompromised or they're just not comfortable coming into the dining room, we offer the service where they can pull up and we give them the same meal in the dining room through their car window. And he said, I go to senior centers all across Northern Nevada. He said, "You guys are really progressive. This is kind of cool." And I was like, "Well, that's what we did with COVID. We just kept it going." And he said, "Nobody else is doing this." He said, "You guys are doing some really good things here." And so it's kind of cool to hear that from somebody who does go to the other centers. And I know there are amazing centers that are out there and they do terrific jobs as well. But to hear somebody say this is not being done elsewhere, it's good to hear that our members are being taken care of from an outside perspective. And so we appreciate our partnership with Food Bank of Northern Nevada, and we like that. We hope to grow it for our pantry, but we're still working on that.
Yes, and if you would like to help, the Senior Center is always appreciative of volunteers, of new activities, ideas. You can visit elkoseniors.org. That's still your website, which is new and improved.
Yes, we got a new and improved website, and so we are very, very thankful for Jaden Demeline helping us with that. So she did a great job on getting that in. And we're still trying to work out some things. There are some areas that we need to improve on a little bit more, but yeah, we're happy for that. I also want to make sure that folks know tomorrow night we have bingo. So we'll have bingo at the center in Elko. Doors open at 5 o'clock. Game starts at 5:30. Cash prizes. In fact, I think our progressive hasn't hit yet. So I think our progressive alone is like $600, $700, something. It's up there quite a bit. So cash payout for that. And then next week on Wednesday, we'll be out at Spring Creek Association's boardroom. Doors there open at 5:30, game at 6. And we also are very thankful for our partnership with Nevada Gold Mines. They've been able to use the building a couple of times this month, and so we're happy for them, and we're glad that we could have that partnership. And if you aren't aware, this upcoming Saturday is Bunko with the Ruby Mountain Resource Center. And so Ruby Mountain Resource Center is going to come in. So come on out for Bunko, support this amazing organization. They do a terrific job, and it's just a lot of fun. My wife and I, Laura and I, were able to participate last time they were in the center playing Bunko, and It was a lot of fun. So come on out, talk to the Ruby Mountain Resource Center. Make sure that you get your tickets purchased, because it is a fundraiser for them as well. So make sure you get your tickets purchased, and then come on out for a fun evening this Saturday.
Is it one of those new old things like crochet? Learning to. Because is it a card game, Matt?
It's a dice game.
Okay.
And so you have a table, and there are 4 players on the table, and you roll the dice, and you're working in pairs across the table from each other, and you keep rolling until somebody gets a number. And at
Yahtzee?
It's kind of like Yahtzee.
Okay.
It's with 3 dice, if I recall correctly, and so you start with the number 1 perhaps, and you're rolling as many 1s as you can get, and if you get 3 1s, then you yell bunko, and that gets you a certain amount of points. And when you hit a threshold of points, then everybody in the room stops. And if you won your table, then you move up towards the table number 1, because that's the winner's table, quote unquote. Ooh. And if you didn't win your table, then you go backwards towards the quote unquote loser's table. And my wife was at the winner's table. I was at the loser's table, and it was
all was fair in love.
That's
and war.
right, exactly,
yes.
Absolutely. And so it was a lot of fun, and it's fast paced, and it's not a boring game, and you're always moving. Your partner is always changing as well. So every time there's a new partner. So it's a lot of fun, and I encourage people to come on out. It's a great date night.
It sounds great. It doesn't sound too mathy either.
No.
Yeah, I was like, uh-oh.
And with 3 other people at the table, they're keeping track of it too. So they're because the whole table gets kind of a winner's side. So
yeah. Well, Matt, thank you as always for the time that you give. He breaks away from serving lunch at the Elko Senior Center to come and be on the radio once a month with us. And thank you, Matt. And anytime you need anything from us, this is what we're here for. So again, just repeating, $1 million will get the contributions going to replacing the existing Elko Senior Center. They've got some plans. It's a foundation. You can just start rolling out the checks anytime. So
that's right. Absolutely. And we will graciously and gratefully accept them. Thank you as always. Elko Broadcasting has always done an amazing job of supporting us, and we appreciate that support.
Matt McCarty is Executive Director of the Terrace. It's the Elko Senior Center at 1795 Ruby View Drive.
That's right. A little bit of a name change, but that's all right. And I keep forgetting to change it too. So thanks, Lori.
We're in good company. Thank you, listeners, for joining us today.